Hello, my name is Erica, and I'm the dyslexic Trekkie.
Okay, Ray. I'm gonna need your support for this one. It's another emotional one for me. You on my back? Good. I'm glad to know that. Maneuvers and Resistance will be shown together because they both have important points that need addressed, but I thought Janeway's contribution was short enough that I didn't think they warranted a video alone. I've been wrong before and will be wrong again in the future. In Maneuvers, we find Seska is working with the Kazon. She's found a sect that will work with her and develops a romantic relationship with the leader. Chakotay feels responsible for the betrayal and goes on a mission to stop her. Captain Janeway has to address the issues of leaving technology behind and rescuing her second-in-command, not to mention his disobeying protocol. In Resistance, Captain Janeway is stranded at a totalitarian planet with Tuvok and Torres being held for questioning. Janeway has to find a way to get them out while being helped by a troubled man who mistakes her for his daughter. Here, we see how she handles not being fully in control. Maneuver starts off, like so many, with other members of the crew. Since this is really a Chakotay episode, it makes sense. There's a beacon using Federation signals to make a distress call. Hopeful thinking leads to some suggestions that the Federation found a way to get a signal to them. The reality isn't quite so nice. Though there's enough time for everyone to change their clothes, it isn't long before the ship finds out the signal is a trap and they're under attack by the Kazon. It becomes clear fast that this isn't a typical attack. The Kazon get through Voyager's shields easily. Seska is helping them. With the ship the Kazon attacked Voyager stuck in its side, they can't go after them. It'll take too long to safely remove the thing. This creates a real issue. Neelix asks Captain Janeway if she's sure she wants to go after the Kazon given the damage they've done. Janeway makes it clear. They have to get the technology the Kazon stole back. It becomes clear that Seska wants them to follow her, and Chakotay makes the decision to go after her without Voyager. I can't flaw his reasoning, but Seska makes it clear she knows his tactics too well. I think it might have made more sense to send someone else after her. Tuvok is the best second choice, being the tactical genius and security officer, but he was in the Maquis too. She'd know his tactics maybe as well. I think Paris would have been a good option. He was barely in the Maquis and has a strategic mind. I think a team of Harry and Neelix to go after her would have been best. Seska wouldn't have known what hit her. But this story isn't about them. Nor is this video. While Seska works to get other sects to work with the Nistrom, Chakotay works with Torres to get the transporter technology back. Though the captain doesn't fully understand the significance, they find two bodies in space. Neelix suggests that their death was an execution due to the stolen transporter technology. Janeway has to work out the best way to get the transporter back. Unfortunately, Chakotay takes it on himself to do that for her. What Chakotay wants to do is understandable, but he has to have known he was playing into Seska's game. Now Janeway has to manage the stolen technology and a rogue commander. Another one of those bad days, and it's only going to get worse. Back with the Kazon, we're learning a little about what it's like to be a woman there. Seska's attitude would be perfectly reasonable among Cardassians. Her forward thinking would be inappropriate in Starfleet, but encouraged to be directed in better ways. But in the Kazon culture, she's just a baby maker. Her job is to help and obey her man. But again, this isn't about her. B'Elanna goes to Janeway to try and defend Chakotay's actions. It's a real change in roles. He's usually defending her. Now she has to try and explain why he would do this. Her points don't help. Janeway knows this is personal. That doesn't make it better. Even if his feelings are reasonable, he's the last person to go after her. My mission with Paris, Kim, and Neelix is looking better, isn't it? Captain Janeway can't just let him get off scot-free. She can't just tell B'Elanna he won't get in trouble. But Janeway can appreciate the concern and the situation. B'Elanna isn't even asking for him to not get into trouble. Just consider the whole thing. Something she really can't help but do. Chakotay successfully destroys the transporter on the Kazon ship at the expense of being captured himself. Of course, the Kazon have his ship, which has a transporter, a replicator, and the technology the Kazon would love to get. I know he wipes the hard drive, but it's still there, with a former officer on board. One problem at a time, right? Captain Janeway gets the message, and they go to help. He couldn't have really expected her to not come get him. It may have taken some work to get there, but we all knew she'd go get him, and it's not just because of plot armor either. Captain Janeway can't just leave someone behind. There's one moment in this episode I plan on going over when it's time for Chakotay analyzed. Seska takes the DNA from Chakotay to use on herself to get pregnant. Why? That's never made clear. I think the actress may have been pregnant and it gave an in-universe reason for it. I'm honestly not sure, but it brings up the issue of sexual assault in a different way. A topic I might look into in another Star Trek Minute. Captain Janeway agrees to let B'Elanna do a flyby transport, the space version of being pulled into a moving car to get out of a fight. Fortunately, Lieutenant Torres has experience doing this. I've seen some say that once the Maquis put on their Federation uniforms, they become Federation, and the whole premise of a mixed crew gets lost. I disagree. It stops being the focal point, but the Federation ship would naturally welcome the crew once they prove themselves. But they still have that experience. They still have skills Federation officers don't. That never stops being the case. B'Elanna almost gets Chakotay, but they wind up using a different tactic. Not sure kidnapping your enemy until they agree to give you your crew back is in the handbook, but all things considered, I doubt it would be considered a violation either, and it works. Now Janeway has to deal with Chakotay. All she can really do feels hollow. Putting someone on report when there's no Federation to report to seems meaningless, but Commander Chakotay makes it clear. It matters to him. And then the point made previously comes to head. Seska's having his baby. And yes, I do consider this sexual assault. Maybe it's not the same as what would happen to a woman when she would get pregnant, but the end result is involuntary participation in reproduction, and through an act of violence. Resistance starts off with the crew on a planet buying needed supplies. Neelix is seen walking around a shopping center with B'Elanna in the background. He passes Captain Janeway a substance for her to scan. It's clear this isn't as casual a transaction as it could be. The crew is attacked by men in black. Some tropes never get old. Janeway is unconscious, and Tuvok with B'Elanna are captured. A little old man attacks the men in black to stop them from hurting Janeway. Next we find out Voyager's power is compromised. They need Tellurium for the warp nacelles to stay working. After technobabble, Chakotay agrees to shut down the shields to keep the system from shutting down entirely. It explains why the purchase was so critical on this planet, why they couldn't go somewhere else. How dire the situation becomes apparent when Neelix tells the crew the away team is gone and they're more concerned about the Tellurium. But, say it with me, this video isn't about this. We confirm that B'Elanna and Tuvok are alive and being held. It's a chance for something we haven't seen much before now. B'Elanna and Tuvok aren't shown together often. Seeing them try to get along is interesting, but again, this video isn't about them. Fortunately, we get to see Captain Janeway wake up, safe, if not unharmed. The old man who helped her in the streets is with her, humming in the shadows, and asking her to rest. The problem is, he thinks she's his daughter, Rolgana. Her comm badge is missing, something they never explain, and the man is ready to dote on her, making her food. She is genuinely hurt, and she does need to recover. His readiness to help is good, but it's obvious he's not thinking clearly. Captain Janeway tries desperately to make it clear who she is, but the man thinks it's a game his little girl is playing. He tries to play along, and Janeway can't get him to understand. The interaction between him and her in the beginning is something special. The actor who plays the old man, Joel Grey, is such a good part actor. I don't recall him ever being a regular in a show, but he's in so many different shows. A man with amnesia in Crossing Jordan, a demon in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a murderer in Matlock. He plays all the parts superbly, and he doesn't fail here either. Here he is, playing a mentally ill man who's so distressed he's created a delusion he's not a threat to her, he just wants to care for his little girl. And he's so proud. He is not a caricature of mental illness, but a deeply troubled man who has no answers. Of course, Janeway can't help but feel for him when she finds out he's lost both his daughter and his wife. Once it becomes clear that the powers that be are looking for her, Captain Janeway tries to leave. Her adopted father won't hear of her going alone. He still thinks he's going to save his wife. When she sees the letters he's been writing his wife for so long, we see her realize the situation. This isn't a loss that happened days ago. It's been months, maybe even years by the stack. When he begs to go with her, the choice is made for them. The guards are at the door, and they have to sneak out the back. While on the streets, the old man sees the guard that took his wife. Janeway tries to caution him. She needs the resistance, but as the guards start harassing people, the old man plays the fool people see him as. This leads to a situation that I think changes how Janeway sees him. His behavior allows the man who was in the resistance to leave. He's left with a roll in his mouth and a melon on his head, but he did help. She can't just leave him behind. While at his home, the old man gave Captain Janeway a necklace. It's his wife's. He thought she should wear it when freeing her. Once they get to talk to the man he helped escape the guards, they trade it to get the weapons to free the crew with his blessing. As the episode goes on, Captain Janeway plays more and more into his delusion. He's been useful, but something more, something I intend to talk about in the analysis. In the meantime, we get a friendly reminder that Kate Mulgrew is a beautiful woman. Dressed as one of the prostitutes in a signature sparkly scarf, she distracts the guards in a way Kirk never could. Or at least, William Shatner would have never allowed the writers to have him do. Not unless they were female guards. Stick in the mud he is. Of course, she needs the old man's help. In the end, we find out his wife's been dead for 12 years. He was told this. He tried to break in repeatedly. He's kept alive as an example. The old man dies, but so does the man who killed his family. Janeway gives him some peace by playing into his delusion one last time. He saved them and will be remembered as a hero. The last few Janeway analyzed videos have felt like an accounting of Janeway's descent into the person who crosses the line one too many times. But she's a much more complicated character than that. In Maneuvers, we see Captain Janeway forced to address the issue relating to both Seska and Chakotay's past. We see how she uses the Federation discipline to manage the ship when someone goes rogue. In the end, her putting Chakotay on report doesn't mean anything except in his respect for her, something we see repeatedly in previous and upcoming episodes. I talk frequently on how Janeway has to change who she is to become the captain who can get her crew home. It's usually in her willingness to work with the situation at hand, sometimes compromising ethics, sometimes making unexpected allies, and sometimes pushing the boundaries. Here, it's in her ability to command respect, not with intimidation, but with her own character. She could have made an example of Chakotay, made him ensign and give him the most demeaning job, or could have thrown him in the brig for a month. Most would have likely thought they were measured responses to him going rogue, but she finds a better way. She holds him to Federation standards and basically writes him up. How he responds to it is what makes it matter. It's that balance between being the captain and basically the governor of a colony. Now she needs to be the captain. I haven't brought up Janeway's tendency to rescue lost lambs in a while. I think Resistance counts as one case. Later in the series, we learn that her father died when she was young in an accident in the Antarctic. Her father was a strong man, a vice admiral, who challenged her to question things and learn. It's been a long time since she's been cared for, and we see a taste of that in this episode. Of course, there's other things going on, and she needs to help. But at the same time, Janeway sees this man who clearly lost so much. I wonder what could have happened if he hadn't died. Once she left, what would have happened to him? He's been used as an example to keep the community docile, a damaged and lost man. I kind of wish she would have brought him with them, helped him recover from his grief, and become a part of the auxiliary crew with Neelix and Cass. But that would have never been the case. He would have been left on the planet, hopefully with the Resistance ready to help him. Sadly, his death was the happiest ending he could have. This world had no place for him. The Resistance, practically speaking, couldn't use him. He's too fractured. He'd spend the rest of his days still trying to free his dead family. What does this have to do with Janeway? She gave him the only peace she could. She, in proxy of his family, forgave him for his fear, and did all she could for him. From the beginning of this project, I knew I wanted to add this episode. I feel like you get a taste of who Captain Janeway is on a deeper level. We clearly can't have stories about her with her family, but we can see how she interacts with a father figure. Ultimately, I think both Maneuvers and Resistance shows what holds Captain Janeway back from crossing the line more than she does. Her sense of responsibility and her compassion are as much a part of her character as her ruthlessness when people are put in danger. Her need to do what must be done is tempered by her need to find a peaceful solution. It's rare that we see Captain Janeway disregard other options. When she does, it's for a reason, and because someone didn't do a good job writing the episode.
Thank you for watching. If you like this subject, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, feelings, or ideas on this subject, please share in the comments below. Again, my name is Erica, and I'm the Dyslexic Trekkie.
Given what... One day I'll be able to close off a room and just record with no worry about external sounds. Except this little Gus. Yeah. You need more treats. How about this? We create a Ensign Bradbury treat fund. Ensign Bradbury Num Num Fund? That's what we need. Set you up a Patreon, forget me, because Ensign Bradbury is definitely the star of the show. That's what we do. We'll call the first tier when we can do Patreon Ensign Bradbury's Replicator Rations. People might wonder what Ensign Bradbury's position is in Starfleet. Yes, he is an ensign, but he has a specific job. Yes, you do. The reason why his uniform is blue is because he's the ship's therapy kitty. Yes. His primary job is to give head bumps and cuddles to the captain when she needs them, especially during difficult videos. Janeway, yeah. Honey, I gotta finish this.